I'm joined here today by the one, the only, of course, talking about the Savage, Gillian Robertson, set to take on Priscila Cachoeira, coming up real soon, December 11th. Gillian, what's going on? How are you?
I'm doing great. 3 weeks out, and it's been too long since I've been back in the cage, so I'm hyped to get back in there.
For sure. And we're seeing that you're keeping busy, though. I'm seeing there's a bunch of grappling bouts and stuff. It looks like, although you're not fighting in the cage, you are still grappling, which I believe is one of your favorite things.
Oh yeah, 100%. I feel like just from fighting in general, I needed to kind of take a step back and just like really reassess my game and really just obviously coming off two losses, just correct a lot of things in my game, just all around. And I just can't stay away from competition though. I love it. So since I was trying to stay away from fighting a little bit, I tried to stay a little bit more active in the grappling scene, and I've had a lot of fun out there.
What are you doing during your time off? Like, are you, still training and stuff, or is it about, mentally sort of getting away from all that kind of stuff?
I have been still training 100%, but I feel like it's just about getting my camp into the way that I want it. Really, just getting my life all together and getting everything situated to really make sure that I'm in the right position physically and mentally to go on a title run at this point.
I know there's a lot of stuff I'm sure you want to keep private, but what changes have you sort of made with your training camp? We know, like, I believe it's been almost what, 2 years now, something like that. You've been exclusively with Dean Thomas when he started his own thing. You guys, I know at one point we're still trying to figure out the training partners. How's all that stuff going?
Oh, everything's going great. Still primarily with Dean and working with David Evans and Shorty Torres more than anything else. We travel a lot, go to different gyms, get work, different bodies there, and so it's like that's always a good thing. Getting different looks, getting kind of those nerves out. You know, every time you go to like a different gym, a new scenario, it's just a little bit nerve wracking, and that's the exact same feelings you're gonna get when you walk in the cage. Like you don't know what that girl's really gonna bring. You have hundreds of fans there. It's like it's a completely different scenario. So it's like I feel like just being exposed to that so often has just been such a blessing.
What's one of the biggest challenges when you walk into a new gym? Like, I assume there's got to be stuff like, who are you going to spar with? Who's going to be too crazy? Who's going to be, I guess, careful? Like, what sort of the challenges you face?
I guess I'm not really worried about that too much. And when it comes to like who's gonna be too crazy, who's gonna be anything like that, I just try to match people's pace. So it's like if we're going light, we can go light, but if you want to pick up the pace, we can pick it up. I guess just me being socially awkward, it's just going in there and sitting in the corner and just not knowing, like trying to find a partner in the first place. That's the hard thing in any of the gyms that I don't know. But most of the girls, I feel like the world's so small, so it's like the all the girls are welcoming, and it's been awesome to get work at every single gym that I've been to.
I feel like it's almost kind of like high school where you sort of have to figure out, like, who do you talk to, stuff like that. Is there someone that like, is there a way in? Like, it's just thinking about it, it does give you anxiety because you're like, man, I hate doing that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's like you got to find your clique. You got to find where you can fit in.
Exactly. So we know, I believe it was your last fight. Did you have to get a suspension for, I guess the official term, marijuana, all that stuff? Did you get suspended for all that stuff? Like, how did all that stuff end?
Yeah, I did. So my last fight, right after it, I got a call that I from USADA saying that the Nevada State Athletic Commission had suspended me for the level of marijuana that was in my system. So I did have to serve a 4.5 month suspension as well. Yeah, and and now during that suspension, Nevada made it so they don't care about the level of marijuana in your system anymore. So
Oh,
I'm like, now next fight going forward, it won't matter. But yeah, I feel like I did everything honestly as normal. Like I usually stop the week like a week out, and I stopped a week out. I did everything like I usually do and get drug tested with USADA and with the state athletic commission. And it's been fine in the past. But I guess just like the amount of THC and the concentrates that I was using, I guess I was doing like whatever I was using was just making it so the THC levels were higher in my system, and I didn't pass the test.
well, what was your reaction when they came to you? Like, were you surprised? Like, well, I mean, you can't be that surprised. 'Cause, like, yeah, like I know what was going on, but there had to be some level of surprise.
It was definitely a surprise. Like I said, I stopped the exact same amount I always stop. Like it wasn't like I did anything different. It was just I wasn't really sure like how it happened. So that's where the surprise came out of, because I thought I was still within the guidelines.
So, do you have a sponsorship for that stuff? Like, I'm trying to remember. I know at one point you did do an interview. I think it was with a sponsor where you guys were smoking the whole time and stuff like that. It seems like it's coming with some benefits.
Oh yeah, 100%. I feel like even just my fan base has grown so much. But I am sponsored by Dr. Dabber. They have some really dope dab rigs, and they've sent me two of them that I am absolutely in love with.
So does that mean for you, like, if you need to refill, you can just hit them up and they'll just send you stuff since they're your sponsor? Like, is that how that works?
Oh, with them, they're just for the rig, so it's just the like what I can hit out of. It's not
Okay,
like
all right, yeah.
it's not like the actual like weed or anything like that. But I am a medical patient in Florida, so
There we go. I feel like if that was the case, that you get texts like every couple of days, like, all right, let me get some more. It's like we're gonna get you your own warehouse, and then we're gonna have to stop worrying about that stuff.
I want to say that like there's like Sean O'Malley or like
Yeah.
people like who are in states where it is legal that they have sponsors like that.
Have you thought of embracing it? Like you mentioned Sean O'Malley, like we see him, he does the podcast where he's smoking and stuff. Like he comes out, he's got the wild colors. Have you thought of embracing it to that point, like almost making it a part of who you are as a fighter? Like almost, Nate Diaz was rolling up a joint during one of the fights. Like, have you thought about taking it that far?
I guess a little bit because like honestly it is a part of my life. Like one of my friends, he always says that my pen's my sixth finger. I'm like I always have something on me. Like I it's just it is a part of who I am as a fighter.
For sure. All right, so let's talk about this training camp. Where are you at? Smoking wise. Like, have you had to change things, or is it now at a point where you don't have to worry about that at all?
Well, with fighting in Nevada, we don't have to worry about that at
Okay.
all.
All right.
So it's like it with like USADA and the Nevada State Athletic Commission don't care at all anymore. They're not testing for it. So even I believe it's just a restriction is like you can't fight high, which obviously I'm not going to be walking out to the cage smoking or anything like that. So it's just but like up to the fight you're allowed to have THC into in your system.
I mean, to be fair, the famous person that fought high and finished with the go-go plata finish was, of course, Nick Diaz. So, I mean, you like to get submissions. I feel like there's a recipe for something there.
I feel like honestly, marijuana is just a huge part of the jujitsu world in general. I think it's just like it makes you a little bit more chill, wants to flow more. You're not necessarily like forcing things, and you're learning the technique, getting more creative, and it's just I feel like obviously me being a stoner, I'm like I'm gonna say that I feel like it helped me. Like it just helps open up your mind, and it helps it so you're not trying to sit there and just like muscle isn't always going to work in jujitsu. It's about just flowing and letting things happen and just being smarter than the other person.
All right, so let's talk about this fight a little bit. Obviously, you're taking on Priscilla. She made her UFC debut, got famous for the wrong reasons because unfortunately for her, she went up against Valentina, which I don't think anybody was expecting that. What was your reaction when they gave you this opponent next? Like, was that someone I assume you had to be familiar with?
Oh yeah, I was definitely familiar with. I watched her last two fights actually against Gina and Shauna Dobson as well. So I feel like both those fights she looked very impressive. She fought Molly McCann as well, who's a close friend of mine and former opponent. So I was like, was definitely watching that fight, and obviously the fight against Valentina, where it didn't go her way quite as much. But I feel like she's an ideal matchup for me. It like doesn't necessarily her biggest threat is her hands. So she does have a lot of power, and I feel like I gotta watch that. I gotta make sure I don't get caught. Like she broke Molly's orbital. She's TKO'd her last two opponents. I'm like, she definitely has power in her hands. A lot of times you see, even after she lands her first like big right overhand, like the look in the girl's eyes, they usually clench right after. Like she definitely has like heavy hands. And but I also don't feel like it's going to be a hard fight to get to the ground and get to my world and get to where I need it to be. So I just got to be safe, not get caught, and I can see it going my way like very well.
So with an opponent like this, obviously you can't give too much away as part of the game plan and stuff. But how much are you working on your hands, or is it more about getting the fight to the ground? Like, what's kind of a focus against an opponent like that?
Uh, honestly, like I feel like my hands have improved in these last like since March, since my last fight, so much. I feel like I'm a completely different fighter than I was then, and I've just really seen myself change 100%. But we obviously know where my strong point is, where I'm trying to get the fight, and I feel like I'm trying to go in there to finish. So it's like we might play on the feet a little bit more, and I feel like I am more confident, and I like ideally I want to be a threat everywhere. I want girls to be scared of me on the feet, scared of me in the wrestling, scared of me on the ground. And it's like if I get them on the ground and they want to stand back up, then it's like they don't have a safe spot no matter what. So it's like that's the ideal point we're trying to get to as an MMA fighter.
What's the pressure like heading into a fight like that? Because we hear you spent the year improving, trying to shore up a lot of stuff, changing up the training camp and everything. Like, is there a lot of pressure riding into this fight?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I feel like any fight, it's like all these girls are tough. All of them pose a threat. She's coming off of 2 knockout wins that are definitely showing how dangerous she is. So it's definitely and me coming off 2 losses. It's a lot of pressure on me, but I feel like sometimes that's when I shine the best.
So, what does a win in this fight do for your career? Obviously, you're taking on a very dangerous opponent. She's on a good streak herself. Like, I assume it's got to put you in a good spot in your division.
Oh, I'm assuming it will. Just I don't assume I don't assume I'm going to be ranked after this fight, but I do believe that it's going to put me in a great position to. I like I said, I really feel like I'm at the position mentally and physically where I'm ready to make a title run now. So it's like I feel like 4 or 5 fights down the line, I will be seeing Valentina across the cage from me.
So we know for you in a division, you're in a tricky division. 'Cause every time we see a contender, they come up against Valentina. We see him lose. People talk about Valentina. Is it intimidating being in a division like that? Like you have one of the greatest of all time that's kind of ruling things. Like, I mean, it's got to be a pretty cool feeling to be a kind of a part of that. But how does it make you feel about the division when you see stuff like that?
Well, yeah, it's a really cool thing to be a part of it, but I also feel like, um, I guess it sets a bar for me. That's where I'm headed. That's what I wanted. I want to be considered that. I want to be considered the greatest all time. Dina and I always talk about how Valentina makes so few mistakes, and that's what makes her so great. So it's like we're trying to really construct me to be that level. I'm aspiring to be like that. And right now, obviously, she's my competition, but she's still like she's the best at what she does right now.
So something I do want to get your thoughts on. We saw recently Roxanne Modafferi announced that she was retiring. Obviously, you guys were on The Ultimate Fighter, all that good stuff. She's a pioneer in women's MMA. What did you think when you saw that? She was deciding to call it.
I actually did not see that, but
Oh,
that's
is this a live reaction right now?
yeah. I'm like that's a wow. Like honestly, Roxanne, like you said, she's a pioneer in the sport. She's been around since like before I was even an amateur fighter. So to hear that, that's surprising. Like uh, yeah, I am kind of blindsided by that. I didn't see it coming. You know.
What do you make of her career? Like you look back, she's had one of the longest careers ever. I think she's had over 50 fights. She's fought literally everywhere. Like, what do you think looking back on her overall career? Like, how do you think people are going to remember her in the sport? Definitely putting you on the spot here.
Well, yeah, she's a vet of the sport. She's one of the girls who I feel like before MMA was even a thing, she was one of the girls fighting. Like really putting in the fights and really helping build the sport as it is today.
And so I do have one last question for you. We always end like this. I already know what the answer is because it's the same every single time. But in case it's different, we do have to ask. But how do you see yourself getting the victory in this fight?
Huh. Gotta think about this one. Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious. My rear naked choke's my thing. It's what I go for, and so it's throat cuddles. That's what we're going for. That's what I'm calling it.
It sounds so nice, but I'm sure it's not very nice when you do actually go out there and are forced to experience something like that.
It's just a nice cuddle till you fall asleep.
That's that's terrifying. That is very terrifying. The fact that you say it with a smile on your face makes it even scarier to think about because it's like you're putting someone's lights out there.
I feel like I don't. I'm two different people. I swear. Like I sometimes I watch my past fights and like I'll cringe at like the way I'm bending a girl's arm or things like that. Like, I can't even watch that kind of stuff. But out there doing it, it's like I'm like, why won't this arm break?
I feel like this is a good stopping point. Definitely a very, very, very terrifying thing. But Jillian, thank you so much for the time as always. I really appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to this fight. It's going to be a great one.
Oh, thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you.